Green spaces in London are under pressure. There are limited space in any urban area, and so there are competition over the different uses that can be made of it.
They deliberately didn't protect the green space around the housing estates, so that in the future they had an option that they could build on it.
Urban green spaces come in a variety of forms. Burgess Park is a good example of a created space, masses of facilities in it, from fishing at one end through to tennis and skateboarding at the other, and with cafes and such.
After the war, there was a vision to recreate or create a South London Hyde Park, which was Burgess Park. They basically cleared the field in the canal, cleared away the factories, cleared away the slum housing and all the bomb damage, and created the park. It had a bit of a reputation when I first started. People used to just nick cars and joyride, set them alight on the park and walk away. Now it's with all the features, it's really well used.
But adjacent to Burgess Park, you have spaces that arise really from being left alone. But actually, we've come to realise that they often have immense nature conservation value. If you want to maximise the green space in Southwark, you've got to protect what is there, but then you also need to look at the new development. You can provide bug hotels, bat boxes, bird boxes.
Some people try and game the system, or if we condition a green roof, I've had all sorts of excuses why they couldn't do it. It's rubbish. They see it as an additional cost.
You have community groups which engage in sort of growing things in London as a form almost of resistance and political action. It is part of reclaiming the city.
What we've got is what's left. It's not Crossbones Graveyard, it's what's left of Crossbones Graveyard before Transport for London was stopped from desecrating it.
There is a threat to green space because of the high cost of square foot. An estimate was about £2,000 per square foot of land here.
And so the future of Crossbones?
To me, it's still not exactly secure. We've only got a 30-year lease, whereas the buildings on the other side of the development have got a 299-year lease.
So my name's Matt, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager here, as well as the gardener here at Crossbones Graveyard and Garden. So the organisation I work for is Bankside Open Spaces Trust, or BOST. It's really important to have green spaces in this part of London, so Bankside, because it's quite green space poor.
I'm Jennifer Cooper. I was confirmed in Southwark Cathedral. I'm a proper South London girl. And if you can allow South London language, mate, it was a shithole. In the 1100s, London Bridge was the only bridge that crossed the Thames. And on the north side of the bridge was the city. It was a very law-abiding place. On the Southwark side, everything was allowed to happen. For the women who worked in the brothels who weren't allowed a Christian burial, an unconsecrated burial ground. What Crossbones holds, what would be left of them by now? Of those women 1,000 years ago, Crossbones isn't just a graveyard, it isn't just a green space. It was never a green space. It's something much, much deeper and more meaningful for so many more people. It's an absolute jewel in South Bank's heart. To me, it's the beating heart of South Bank.
There are 3 stages to the Crossbones campaign. One really started in 1996 with John Constable.
I think it's Goose Night, 23rd of November 1996, and this voice that calls herself the Winchester Goose is walking him around Southwark, and he is stopped at the gates in Red Cross Way.
And your earrings, are those
A wild flying goose, darling. Some of the things are very deeply saddening, what Transport for London, what Southwark Council did all those years ago. They called us nutters. So trying to stop the developers from building a 10-storey office block on it.
Boss then stepped in. We've got the gardening expertise, we've got the legal expertise. Let us manage Crossbones.
Johnny's on the scene, and Johnny's driven by a very obvious spiritual side. He started running a vigil every month.
What happens at the vigil?
I would rather not say. It's nice if people come to a vigil and they don't know exactly what they're expecting. The goose is wild. There are no words to contain it.
Crossbones is a very grounding place. I find it to be somewhere I come, just like visitors, to get quite a lot of solace.
I look down the A3 and I can see the Shard. And as this lip starts to curl, this heart starts to melt, because if I can see the Shard, then there's my heart, Crossbones. People get all sorts of reasons why they come. I knew a woman whose son had committed suicide, and she didn't feel she could grieve him in a church, but she missed him so much. When you're inside Crossbones, even though it's right in the middle of the city, you can feel the silence, you can hear the silence.